Welcome once again to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township, the various government entities that make laws, regulations, and ordinances that affect you out there.
And whether you live in the village of Leonard, the village of Oxford, Oxford Township, or Addison Township, these are the people that you elected. And whether you attend the meetings or not, the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you. So you really should be attending these meetings, but then again, that's why we're here.
That and to spread rumors.
Rumors and half-truths.
Well, truths here, half, or this way, kind of, folks.
Yeah, well, that's the better half.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about the first meeting then, shall we?
Okay, what is it?
Oh, these folks will want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, right?
Oh.
It's the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yep. And it's kind of that little group of people that nobody even knows their identity, but they're in this dark room making these decisions.
Unsung heroes.
They are.
And just as a matter of reference, these groups, the ZBA, the Planning Commission, the Board, these are groups that are mandated by the state, actually, for each community, each municipality. So if you go from one to the other, you'll have your Planning Commission and your ZBA, and we have what? We have 4 of them, don't we?
Well, we could have different areas.
Well, the 2 villages and the 2 townships.
Tell me more.
I can't. That's all I got.
That's all he's got, folks, and boy, am I glad. Anyway, this organization, the ZBA, they actually can adjust the ordinance if there's a hardship involved. And
a waiver.
A waiver. They can waive, certain requirements within the ordinance.
And if it's too much, they just wave goodbye.
Right. Let's say if you're building a building and the property line is required to have 10 feet, to your plot. Mm-hmm. They can override that under a hardship situation and maybe only grant 5 feet. Requirement. That'd give you an idea of some of the changes that they can make.
Sure.
They're a law.
And in this land of lakes, where property lines are ziggy and zaggy, people do make those requests.
They do. And this group is the only group in the village, townships, and so forth that can make this ruling because they're the legal law, what do I want to say?
Adjudicator.
Authority.
Adjudicator.
Authority.
Adjudicator. I like adjudicator.
Yeah. Adjudicator. You like that? All right, we'll stick with that word. Anyway, so let's talk about the meeting that they had on November 9th. And the first thing, of course, they had to ask for public comments. Are there any public comments for the regular meeting? And no. Everybody stood there with their hands in their pockets.
Looking at their shoes.
They did. And they said any public comment items not on the agenda. There are non-items.
Another cone of silence?
Another cone of silence. Very quiet. Anyhow, the ZBA was having this meeting because of a ordinance requirement for 008.15, which was a split parcel of land that they had to deal with. It is located on 12th West Street and over near off Lakeville Road.
Oh,
I think in that area or somewhere in that neighborhood. John Daniels is the owner of it, and he lives on Lakeville Road. And his address is Oxford, so he's got to be a little bit in this direction. He was represented by Jonathan Crane, the attorney from Rochester.
Oh.
And interesting enough, this is the second ZBA meeting that they had where Jonathan Crane presented the issues with this property.
But the same property?
Same property.
Oh.
And the biggest issue with the property is, can you say nonconformity?
Ooh. Nonconformity to current ordinances.
Yes.
How's that sound?
That could be. And they have to normally bring it up to, conformity. But what they have is one piece of property that they want to separate. At one time, it was 2 separate pieces of property, the way the history goes. Mm-hmm. And they came before a board, I think in 1987 or something like that, and asked, that it be joined as one piece.
Uh-huh.
So it was back then. Interesting enough, now they want to split it again. And the reason for that is that there is a home that's considered the primary building, living in one part of it, in the other side of it is what appears to be some type of a duplex. Now, you know what a duplex is?
Yeah.
Yeah, multi,
Well,
rental
duplex
or-
means two.
yeah, two. And actually, it looks like there's three various homes joined in that area.
So it'll be a triplex or a triplex? I don't know.
Could be a mistake, is what it could be,
Oh.
because they did do a search and they didn't see any permits that were pulled, and nor did the tax rolls show that this was a duplex. They showed it as a home.
Ah,
So,
someone slid that one under the door.
yeah, so those are issues that came up. There's a company that they retained, an engineering firm, and it's called Houston Kennedy Engineers. And they actually laid out the plat on how this would look. Well, you know, Kelly
Kelly Rossner?
Rossner Myers
Right.
originally said, I want to see what it looked like before it was made into a single piece of property. Because originally they came forward and they said, well, we want to change it back to the way it was. Well,
And of course, that document was right there.
yeah, right. It was right there, all right. It wasn't.
No.
But actually, what happened is the attorney showed overhead aerial views of the property for several years. And dating back, I'm trying to think, all the way to way back.
Way back?
Yeah, way back. And they showed it, the last one in 1977 showed actually before the separation was made, or at the separation, not before, 1977. So that really didn't give them any real information to make any decisions on.
But didn't show the property outline or anything.
No, it did not. There was some indication of one of the aerial views that showed a kind of triangular piece of property because of the boundary lines or the tree, you know, berm areas and so
Right.
forth that they had. The green areas. That is what I was looking for. Green areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things. Anyway, they will actually pretty much lay out, you know, the way the traffic.
But were
for
there
that
any
property
title
was.
search documents on it at all, or?
Actually, they did a search at Oakland County to find out, you know, what had happened in the past, and very little information, you know, from the township or from the county.
Oh.
And the township said, well, Callie says, well, where's the information when they made this thing a duplex? I don't see anything on the tax rolls that shows this. Well, they apparently don't have any designation that that was done. So one of the commissioners said, well, was it done at night? And nobody around? Then the neighbors notice all the pounding and, you know, anyway.
But that would have an effect on the tax rolls too, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Oh, wow.
And I want to say the aerial views went all the way back to 1963, you know, and they did another aerial view for 1980 showing, you know, the same buildings in place, and 1990 again, and 2014 was the last one.
Wow.
That showed the kind of the outlay of the land. And with the outlay of the land, let's talk about that when we come back right after this.
Welcome to Leonard.
Welcome back. We're talking about the ZBA meeting that they had for the township,
Oxford Township.
Oxford Township, and we were just talking about the drawings or the aerial views that the attorney presented. And they said that the last information they had for a tax record was in 1950, was as far back as they went. No building permits were ever presented or you know, applied for.
Well, things were done informally back then.
They were done informally. I think they parked the wagon train on the left and left the horses on the right. But anyway, something happened here where it fell through the cracks.
Did scissors cuts paper and came to a deal.
They did, yep.
I don't know.
So anyway, so they, the attorney said, well, we'd like to, you know, break this up, you know, in two separate pieces of property. And Callie Myers, she said, now wait a minute, let me get this straight. We've got,
Are you quoting her?
yeah, I am, kind of. She says, let's get this straight. we have a non-conforming piece of property now. It's never been approved or anything along that line. And you want to, let me get this, you want to break it into 2 non-conforming pieces of property. Said there ought to be somewhere along the line here where this has to stop. She says, I can't promote non-conforming property. So she said, I really,
So what do you do? Do you make the current piece of property conform and then you can split it?
well, yeah, you could do that, I guess, but they probably wouldn't be able to split it anyway because of the boundary,
Oh.
the setbacks.
Oh.
So that wouldn't work either.
Oh.
So get this, here's another thing. The primary home, because of the way it's laid out right now, if it were broken into 2 pieces of property and there was a fire and the building was destroyed, they could not, under law and under ordinance, be able to rebuild it.
Because it was non-conforming.
Non-conforming. Right. There's that magic word out there. So anyway, and there, I'm trying to think, there were a couple of other commissioners that chimed in. They said, earth, non-conforming is a bad word. There's so many issues with this property that we don't feel that this may be the route to go.
What is it? What was the old thing? The sins of our fathers?
Right.
So back in 1950, something happened.
Right. So anyway, so they did say, what kind of hardship do you have? You have to have a hardship in order to do this. And the attorney says, well, Mr. Daniels can't, get a mortgage through the bank, for this property because of the situation it's in. And so we need approval, from the ZBA board that it's justifiable and that they can go ahead and they can now use this as a source of identification through the ZBA that you've approved it. Callie about come out of her seat. She says,
We don't even
I don't think
understand
that's
it.
going to happen. We don't have any information on it or anything. She says, and besides, she said, I happen to know that the piece of property you have as a whole, bank will accept that, if you want a mortgage for it. And she said, I'm not inclined to go with 2 pieces of property that are both non-conforming and have to deal with that. So they said, they went through a lot of talk with the attorney on this thing. They said, well, let's go through a fact-finding statement here. They said, is
They're
there
beating
anything...
this thing to death, aren't
yeah, they are. They said, is there a way that's going to prevent the owner from getting a mortgage? The answer was no. And they went through 4 other statements, and all of them were no. So they said, well, let's take a vote on this. The attorney says, whoa, wait a minute, whoa. He said, I'd like to table this so I can have somebody else, attend the meeting.
Who would that be?
Who isn't here? That would be the owner, probably,
Oh.
Daniels or one of the engineers. And the commissioner said, well, no, we don't. We're at the point where we have a quorum here, and we take a vote on this and put it to bed right now. Would be the thing to do. We have 1 member missing.
Should have come with your guns loaded.
Right. They had one member who was missing, and that was Walters. And the attorney says, well, I'd like to see a full body up here making this decision.
But a quorum is a quorum.
Right, it is. So anyway, one thing led to another, and they said, well, let's pull out the copy of the bylaws
Uh-oh.
and see what's required. So they did,
And?
and they read bylaws, and they had every right, to do this, although they give some leverage if they want. And most of them were in favor of just voting no on it and not approving it.
Oh.
And so they did,
Vote.
through the fact-finding questions, deny the parcel split. But
And there it lay?
no, it's still laying there. And however, they claim that they would have
They being?
the commission.
Okay.
They claim that they would give him some latitude, and he could come back and he could explain to Mr. Walter, what his side of the issue is. It wouldn't make any difference because they pretty much have a quorum and they went forward with this. And under the circumstances, non-conforming means non-conforming. And it's not going to work.
So was it voted, so shall it be.
So shall it be. That pretty much terminated that situation.
Okay.
So the attorney packed everything up and left. He was a little disappointed, of course.
Oh, well.
He's got to go back to his client and say, all that money you spent? It's not working. So anyway, let's
If you got
talk.
any left over, you can pay me.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about the Oxford Village Council. That was the latest one. Just came up November
Okay.
10th. And
So what's going on there?
Oh, they had a lot of stuff to cover. Sue Passardi is the chair, and she does a pretty good job in controlling the meeting. Brian Cloutier sits on it, Tom Kinnis, and Rose Bima, and
Maureen Hellmuth.
Maureen Helmuth sits on that commission. And they had a lot of things to cover, as I said. They, first of all, talked about the agenda approval, and they had some quick discussion about what items should be positioned where, you know, in the schedule of things, you know, the agenda. That was taken care of. Then they read off the minutes, and they all approved. No
Okay.
problem. Aye, aye, there goes the ship.
Yep.
Worked pretty well. They did, first of all, talk to the auditor. The auditor came to the podium. Her name is Kimberly Keith. And now you're wondering, why didn't they settle the bills? Well, they did the bills after the audit.
Okay.
Okay. And I can jump ahead and I can answer that for you right now if you want and get that out of the way. Would you like me to do that?
Did I ask?
No, but I can see it turning up there. So anyway, they did have bills, and the bills were the tune of $241,005.80, and it was approved in
Good.
full. So it was all taken care of.
No questions?
Right. The auditor, it was the senior auditor, and it was Kimberly Keith who spoke before the board. And first of all, she thanked Joe and Susan Nasser, Joe Young being the village manager, and of course the staff for assisting. Under opinion, they had financial information that came forward concerning the assets over liabilities. Now, you would know some things about that, right?
What you got and what you owe.
What you got and what you owe. Yep. And she said that the accounts payable decreased, and they had an increase of investments, though, that came in. So that was a good thing. They said that the sewer and water was stable in terms of the monies that they were bringing in. At one time, it wasn't, you know.
Oh, right. That's why they had to raise the rates.
Yeah, they had to raise the rates. And as a
Oh,
matter
they
of fact,
adjusted the rate, should I say.
they adjusted the rates. They did do that. We'll talk about that, too, a little bit down the line
Okay.
here. There's a law requirement that's called the Gatsby regulation.
The Gatsby?
You're wondering what that is. Me too.
The
I was
Great
wondering.
Gatsby?
It's now required. Not the Great Gatsby, but it could be. What it involves is pensions. Before, you know, in their scheme of things financially, you didn't have to put down the pension amount in full. It was required. Now
Yeah.
they're requiring the villages, townships, so forth, to state exactly what the pensions, total amount of the pension
I
requirements
think private businesses have been under that law for a while, haven't they?
Private business has been, but government has not been required to do this, and this is the first time. So what it does is it throws off all, pretty much, their financial
I s-
goodies.
I seem to
the
remember that.
negative.
I seem to remember that same complaint happening years ago.
Yeah, you probably do. So anyway, and they said it's not just happening to Oxford Village, it's going to the townships all over in the state of Michigan. Everybody's complaining about it. It doesn't make their P&Ls and their, you know, things look good.
Well, they just have to make that adjustment.
Yeah, right. Okay. She said that under the income statement, that the general fund is decreased just a hair. DDA fund, however, and the general fund has increased to the tune of about $35,000 net. So
Wow.
the DDA is doing pretty good.
Yeah, they
You know-
they were on a sinking ship there for a while.
And we anticipated that, though. It was going to happen.
That it was
went
going to
through some-
sink?
Well,
No,
let me just say
that you were going to bail it out.
they changed the name from Titanic to something
Oh, okay.
that would float. So anyway, so it is working for them. And again, they're watching the expenses because, of course, they were in a situation where they had no money, but now they seem to be doing pretty well.
Good.
Now, in terms of things, you expect to see a level of general fund, for example, for the community to be 15 to 20% is recommended. It's at 13.8% now.
That's 15 to 20% of what?
Well, it would be of the total amount of funds, you know, as compared with,
Like your budget.
yeah, like of the budget.
Right.
You got it. What took you so long? I've been waiting. I saw the train a-coming.
Just laying in wait.
Just for laying in wait. You just wanted to see me struggle, didn't you? I got your struggle, buddy. So anyway, just to give you an idea, in 2014 it was at 20%. 5%. So it was doing really well then, but
good.
it's kind of gone downhill a little bit.
But still within limits.
It's still within limits, it is. And that's a 1 year's activity. They check it every year. Expenses decreased $73,000 roughly. The general fund actually has increased $97,000, but it's still, lacking. So they have to really watch the general fund. With that being said, we'll be back right after this.
Watch one of the longest running programs on OCTV, Our Community Access, every day at 9:30 and 5:30. Hosted and produced by Bill Service. Our Community Access, keeping it local.
All today on Our Community Access.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elton Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the village council. What's going on over there? Woo-hoo. And we're talking about money. Woo-hoo.
Dollars
There
and
it goes.
cents.
Anyway, they have a 5-year projection for their budget.
What year are they in?
They're in this 2015 right now. But
Well,
they're
no, I
gonna
mean in the 5 years,
Oh.
which
I don't know. That's a good question. Write it down.
take a note.
You folks will never see these notes. They disappear. I have no idea where they are. But anyway, they said that the two most expensive portions of their budget is the police department, the public safety, in other words,
Right.
and 911, which makes sense. The
Does
DPW
that include the fire department?
includes fire department
Okay.
costs. It's a part of the safety program.
All right.
DPW, Department of Public Works, is the second highest in terms of expense. So that being said, we're going to go back to the Gatsby.
Gatsby, I love it.
And its sewer program, let me see, is at 2015, roughly 108% rating it is, where it was at 126. So they're actually doing better. They're bringing down the cost. They got an increase of income of $757,000 over $500,000.
Okay.
So they're doing much better. In the water department, they have gone from $600,000 roughly to $783,000.
Thanks to that adjustment that we were talking
Yep,
about
and
later,
that was
like
dire.
before.
People are in dire need of that. Although you hear a lot of complaints on it. Hey, my bill is way up.
Well, some people were affected and some people weren't.
Yep. Now I just saw where the township just had a water increase also.
Oh,
For people that are on the township system, and I think theirs is going up 17%, if I'm not
Whoa.
mistaken, and to pay off some of their expenses. So that's you people out there living in the township. It's coming your way. I can see the train coming.
when someone hooks up to township water and they have a well, are they required to get rid of the well?
No. Well, yeah, they can't use the well to drink with, use it as drinking water. I think they can use it for sprinkling systems.
Oh.
I do use mine for a sprinkling system. I have a well, one of two in the whole subdivision.
Oh.
It works out pretty well. I've had my neighbor, threaten
I just wondered
to
about
pipe
that.
into
If
it.
there was a legal requirement that you had to turn one off or get it capped or whatever.
Yeah, right. That's the way it works. Okay. But anyway, it's only going to be charged to people that use the water system in the township, not every individual that lives in the township. And that was kind of a voice of contention that came up. Shouldn't everybody be paying for it? And actually, Curtis Wright said no. He said, no, that's not what should happen. The people who are using it, are the people that should pay for it, and if there's plumbing issues and so forth. So anyway, we'll get off the township and we're going to get back to the village again. Bill Dunn, he stood up and he said, this MERS that we have, MERS 457, which is the retirement program, it's under deferred compensation is what it's called, deferred compensation plan.
Okay.
He said that I'd like to have a meeting, he said, with the village, have the township and the village come together and discuss, what we can do with this, because it's so complex, that we need to have people, more than 1, 2, 3, 4 people or 6, that can actually dissect this and look at it. I think from 2 communities would be a good thing. So anyway, the board felt from the village that was a good idea. And also Sue Basardi, she said, whoa, wait a minute, one more thing, Bill, before you leave here. Yes, she said, I really appreciate, and so does the village, that you were able to get the roof repaired on the gazebo located on Centennial Park.
Ah.
He took care of that.
Did it spring a leak?
He had somebody that owed him Yeah, it was leaking all over.
No.
Yeah, you didn't see the buckets all over?
Those guys with those steel guitars, they
Yeah, they rattle the roof. Anyhow, so
didn't want a little
that was
Sparky in their
nice of the
hands.
township to do that, and Bill Dunn.
Yeah.
I think great thing. Telecommunications is the next subject. They want to change to fiber optics in the village, and they're going to go with AT&T fiber optics through a company who's third party, and it's called Business National Team, or Network Team. I'm sorry, Business Network Team. And it's a third-party group that brings everything together because there's quite a complex thing with fiber optics, as you know, going from cable to fiber. And also they want to upgrade their internet. And with that, they're going to change from AT&T to get this, Charter Spectrum.
Yikes.
So they're going to Charter Spectrum, and because it's faster and it's a little less money. And so again, this group, Business Network Team, is going to handle that portion of it too. Now James Owens that handles all their electronic repair over there.
Is Business
and
Network
computers.
Team an AT&T subsidiary or what?
No, they a third-party lease or a third-party company actually works arrangements with contracts with the various companies and
Okay.
bring them in alignment
Okay.
for what your needs are.
Wonderful.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. New business. First reading of the upgrade ordinance for combined residential and office. So they read the first reading on it, and it'll go for the second one in the next meeting.
Okay.
Then they said, we want to sell the building at 18 West Burdick Street, which is right next to us. And
Part and parcel of this
Yep.
whole complex.
And so Joe Young, the village manager, said, well, I have an estimate as to the value of it. And it's somewhere around $133,380. And he says, though, there are a number of repairs that need to be made to it. $30,000 is the estimate that I had a while back to fix the roof. And also there's air conditioning issue and heating system issue and other things down the line. And there's a subject of parking spaces. Now, if the individual buys this building, they're only required to have probably 7 to 8 parking spaces according to the ordinances. And so when all the chatter finished and all the conversation completed, the commissioner said, well, let's sell it as is. And that was a suggestion of the attorney.
But not for 133.
Well, it's under negotiation, but all they were looking for, or Joe was looking for, is the approval to go forward and advertise it for sale.
Okay.
And he got that approval, so the nod. And then they said that the proposal has to be completed by the attorney in terms of his language and so forth by December. So they expect to have all that put together, not this month, but next month.
Why that deadline?
Well, because they want it before the first of the year for some reason.
Okay.
Apparently time schedules, you know how those work.
Yeah.
So anyway, public comment. Police chief stood up and he says, I have a beard. He says, everybody else has a beard. He says, and we got a reason for this. He says, for donation for Health Foundation for cancer for men.
Okay.
So spoke about that. One other thing, Brian Cloutier stood up and he says, what about solicitations in this area? I had a guy knocking at my door the other day at 8 o'clock. I asked him where his permit was. He said, well, I left it at the other place. So
No one's ever asked me that one before.
So he says the guy did not have a permit. So he said, you folks out there, you need to know that if somebody comes to your door, they have to show their permit, ask to see it, and also they can't come before 7 o'clock.
So,
Or they can come before 7. What's up? What's
so
coming
all you
next?
Girl Scout leaders that are sending your little Girl Scouts out with cookies, they better have a solicitation
Yeah.
permit. I don't think
If
so.
you go to his house, he'll take the cookies and they'll wave goodbye to you. So be careful.
But there are meetings. On 11/17 at 7 o'clock, the Addison Township Fire Board will be meeting. And at 7 o'clock the same day, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission will be meeting. And on 11/18 at 3 p.m., the Pollyant Trail Management Council will be meeting at the Village of Oxford offices. And on 11/19 at 4:30, NOTA, North Oakland Transportation Authority, will be meeting at their business offices in Lake Orion. And at 7 o'clock that same day, the Village of Leonard Council will be meeting. And on 11/23, guess what? At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the Oxford Area Cable Communications meeting will occur.
Yippee-ki-yay-ki-yay. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And, that'll be at Roland Hall in Leonard.
Oh, I almost missed that one.
She just jumped right in.
You are?
Who what? Dave Kenny.
We'll catch you right here in Minutes by Minutes next time, folks.
See you then.